There's a new tool making waves in just about every single profession. And of course, architecture is no exception. Today we're diving into a new book, ChatGPT for Architects, by veteran architect Jim Capler. It makes this really compelling case for AI, not as a threat, but as the next essential instrument in the modern architect's toolkit. So, the book kicks things off by tapping into a feeling every architect knows, right? That moment you're staring at the blank screen, the cursor's just blinking, and you're searching for the perfect words. It's a pain point that really frames this whole conversation. What if you had a tool that could just handle that linguistic heavy lifting, freeing you up for the actual core tasks of design? Now, the author, Jim Capler, he doesn't frame this as some kind of radical disruption, not at all. Instead, he argues this is just the next logical step in a long, long history of technology adoption in our field. The message is pretty clear. This isn't about replacing architects. It's about evolving the toolkit we use every day. I mean, this timeline really puts it all in perspective, doesn't it? Just think about this shift from tracing paper to CAD. That was monumental. Then the move to BIM was just as profound, right? It totally changed how we manage data. Well, the book argues that these AI language models, they're simply the next step in that same evolution. It's a tool that's going to reshape how we approach design and process information, just like those other technologies did. Okay, so what exactly is this new AI assistant? Well, the book does a great job of just cutting right through all the hype, giving a primer specifically for architects. The goal is to give you a clear-eyed, really practical understanding of the tool you've got in your hands. So at its core, an LLM like ChatGPT is basically a super powerful pattern matching machine. Honestly, the best way to think of it is like autocomplete on steroids. It doesn't actually understand anything you're talking about. It's just making a really, really educated guess about what the next word should be. It's a master of language for sure, but it's not a thinking entity. And this brings us to the book's central analogy, which is just brilliant. Stop thinking of AI as a seasoned expert partner. Instead, picture an intern who has read every architecture book ever written, but has zero real-world experience. They're incredibly fast, they know a ton, but you have to give them exact instructions, and you have to meticulously check their work. Every single thing it produces must be fact-checked by you, the professional. So building on that intern idea, the book really stresses that knowing what this tool can't do is maybe even more important than what it can. It can't look at your drawings, and this is the big one, it can just plain invent facts, they're called hallucinations, that sound totally plausible. Why? Because its goal isn't to be truthful, it's just to predict the next word. And understanding that is absolutely essential if you want to avoid some serious professional risks. So all this leads to a really crucial point. The tool is only as good as the person using it. The book introduces this idea of prompt craft as the single most important skill you need to master, because the quality of what you get out is almost entirely dictated by the quality of what you put in. So, for example, if you give the AI a super vague prompt like, "Tell me about sustainable building materials," what do you expect to get back? You're leaving everything up to guesswork. And as the book points out, you're just going to get a generic, totally unhelpful answer that's pretty much useless for a real project. But look at the difference here. A prompt that has clarity, context, and constraints. You're asking for 5 clouding materials for a coastal office, and you're specifying lifespan, maintenance, and cost. Well, that's a total game changer. That's how you transform this thing from a fun little novelty into a powerful assistant that gives you targeted, specific information you can actually work with. ChatGPT for Architects boils this whole skill down into 4 core principles. Be specific, add context, assign a role, and define the format. But here's the fantastic insight from Capler. As an architect, you've been training for this your whole career. Crafting a good prompt uses the exact same skills as developing a design brief or interviewing a client. You already know how to do this. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? The book is absolutely packed with real-world applications, showing you how to weave this tool across the entire architectural workflow, from that very first spark of an idea all the way to final documentation. Let's start with research. Here, the book shows how AI can act like this tireless assistant, synthesizing dense regulations or summarizing complex articles for you. But, and this is a constant warning in the book, all technical data, any code summaries, any material specs, they must be rigorously verified by you. Think of it as your starting point, never the final answer. Now, for early design, the book positions the AI not as a designer, but as a brainstorming partner. You can use it to find just the right words to articulate a design concept, or to generate thematic keywords,
or just to help you overcome that intimidating blank page when you're drafting a project narrative.
And this is where the AI can be a huge time saver: communication. The book details how it can handle all that linguistic heavy lifting, everything from drafting marketing copy for your website to streamlining client emails to simplifying complex technical jargon for stakeholders who need the simple version.
So finally, the book looks ahead, and it doesn't shy away from the big issues, the critical questions of ethics and professional responsibility. It frames a really clear vision for how this technology has to be integrated thoughtfully into the future of our practice.
This quote right here, it really captures the book's central optimistic thesis. The goal isn't to automate the architect out of a job, it's to use AI as a tool to augment and amplify the architect's unique capabilities, to free up more of our time and mental energy for what truly matters, creating meaningful spaces.
And so ChatGPT for architects leaves us with this one essential thought. This change isn't coming. It's already here. The book positions architects not as passive observers who are just along for the ride, but as the essential intelligence needed to guide this evolution responsibly. So the only question left is, are you ready to lead that